Korea's exports of information and communications technology products surged more than 20% year-on-year in November to $25.4 billion, marking the highest monthly figure on record.
지난달 우리나라 정보통신기술 ICT 분야 수출이 작년 같은 달보다 20% 이상 뛰어오른 254억 달러를 기록하면서 역대 최대 실적을 달성했습니다.
Yeah, so this is data from the Ministry of Science and ICT. In Korea, that's the name of the ministry, right?
Yep.
What is it? The 과학기술정보통신부, the Ministry of Science and ICT. ICT exports actually rose 24% last month to $25.4 billion in the last 3 months, starting back in September, October, November, have then been the top 3 months in terms of ICT performance. So it's just going up and up in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Chip exports are the main reason for that because microchips, memory chips have gone up 38.6% to about 17 billion. And if you take into account the $12.7 billion in imports, Korea has an ICT trade balance surplus of $12.7 billion.
So ICT includes semiconductors. What other things are we talking about when we say ICT?
Yeah, so ICT itself stands for, of course, Information and Communications Technology. We're talking about the technologies, systems, any industry that involves transmitting information, such as telecommunications or things like memory chips and data systems.
아, 그렇군요. 메모리 칩, 그다음에 통신 관련된 것들, ICT의 큰 범주 안에 들어갈 텐데요. 특히 우리 뭐 수출 얘기하면서 반도체 얘기가 빠지지 않죠.
Of course.
Semiconductors, 또 다른 말로는 chips라고도 합니다. 이 chips의 exports 덕분에 또 역시 ICT의 수출이 좋은 성적을 내고 있는 모습이네요. 자, ICT, Information and Communications Technology.
Yes, and it's important to put that S behind the communication because slightly different meanings, right? When you say communication with no S, we're just talking about interacting, right?
Yeah.
Just two people perhaps having a conversation is communication. When you say communications with the plural form, then we're talking about the sector. We can be talking about systems, not just personal messages or relations like
the
that.
difference the little S makes. And these are really tricky for non-native speakers because there's no rhyme or reason to these things. Sometimes you have to add an S. Sometimes you have to take it out. And so you just have to learn it by heart.
Yes.
Memorize it.
Out of usage, right?
그래요. 이런 것들은 뭐 그냥 그렇구나 하고 받아들이는 수밖에 없을 것 같은데 통신일 때는 communications S를 붙이고요. S가 없으면은 보통 그냥 의사소통이라는 뜻으로 쓰죠. Now, what's a monthly figure?
Yeah, so the figure we're talking about here is a statistic or an amount, right? A number. And when we're talking about a monthly figure, it's a numerical amount. We hear this in, finance, economics, business reports, and statistics. You can have monthly figures, you can have quarterly figures, or annual figures, right?
Monthly, annual, quarterly. 이런 것들은 이제 figure 앞에 붙는 그 기간이 될 텐데요. figure라는 게 수치라는 의미로 여기서는 쓴 거죠. The numbers, the data.
Yes.
You could, of course, be talking about somebody's figure, which would be 몸매. That's a different meaning.
And you have to do this hand motion.
손을 근데 무슨 몸매죠? 이거는 I don't know what I'm doing. 그것도 스펠링은 같아요.
Yes.
그때 그 figure. 그 다음에 또 figure skating 할 때도 figure. 그 외에도 여러 가지 의미가 있습니다. 뭐 go figure.
That figures.
That figures. 그렇지 뭐.
Or just the shape of something, right? Like the bodily shape, I guess, a figure of something.
뜻이 정말 많은데 뉴스에서 특히 이런 이제 데이터가 나오는 뉴스에서 figure는 수치다. numbers. 앞에 이제 monthly 붙었으니까 월간 수치가 되겠습니다. Now let me read the headline one more time. Korea's exports of information and communications technology products surged more than 20% year on year in November to $25.4 billion, marking the highest monthly figure on record. All right, let's move on to the next headline.
Nearly 1.6 million people in their 20s and 30s were classified as being outside the labor market last month, with that number reaching its highest point since 2021, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics.
국가 데이터처에 따르면 실직했거나 취업 준비 중이거나 집에서 그냥 쉬는 이른바 일자리 박 20, 30대가 지난달 160만 명에 육박한 것으로 집계돼 2021년 이후 가장 높은 수준을 보인 것으로 나타났습니다. There's a lot of people not working.
Yeah, so we're going from some good economic news to some not so good economic news in terms of unemployment. Like you said, a lot of young people in their 20s and 30s, 1.6 million, just a little under 1.6 million to be exact, are or were either unemployed, preparing for jobs, or just taking time off last month, which is quite a staggering number. And it's an increase of about 28,000. It's the highest since November 2021, which we remember we were still in the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the fact that numbers are at those levels is quite troubling. The number of just unemployed people in their 20s and 30s is up 22,000 from a year earlier as well. So those simply just resting without engaging in any particular activity, including searching for a job, is also at its highest figure since related data was first compiled in 2003.
네, 이렇게 일자리 박 인구 20대와 30대가요. 코로나 그의 영향을 우리가 한창 받고 있었던 2021년 이후 현재 가장 높은 수준을 보이고 있다고 하니까 좀 우려스럽네요. Let's have a look at people classified as something.
Yes, so if you're classified as something, you're in a classification, meaning you're officially or you're formally sort of placed in a category or a group. Defined either through some criteria or some rules or characteristics, right?
Exactly. To classify, 분류한다라는 뜻입니다. You're put in a classification or a class. 약간 그런 이제 어떤 그룹에다가 들어가게끔 하는 거죠. 이건 뭐 제가 굉장히 단순하게 표현을 했지만 그래서 분류하다, classify as를 사람한테 여기서는 쓴 겁니다. 20, 30대 중에 일자리 박 인구는 그러니까 앞에는 설명이 있었죠. 뭐 실직했거나 뭐 등등등 이런 인구는 일자리 박 인구로 분류를 합니다. There's another meaning of the word classified, isn't there? If you say classified information.
Yes, exactly. If something is secret, right? Yeah, confidential.
So I guess in that case, again, you're classifying it into the secret category.
Absolutely, because only a certain classification of people are allowed to see it, perhaps.
맞아요. 그래서 기밀 정보를 얘기할 때도 classified라는 표현을 쓰는데 그때는 뭐 여러 가지 설명이 필요하지 않아요. 그냥 classified라고 하면 이 특정 사람들만 볼 수 있는 기밀 정보구나.
Right.
이렇게 알 수 있죠.
In my understanding in the government is there are different tiers. There's top secret, right? And then there's confidential, and then there's public information.
Is it okay to tell people this? Is it not
The
classified
fact
information?
yes, I believe so.
The fact that there are tiers is not classified information.
No,
That's
it is
just
not.
a fact.
Right. You might not see me on this show anymore for divulging this top
messing with
secret
you there.
information about top secret information.
All right, what's reaching the highest point?
Yeah, so if you reach a highest point, one's highest point, you're reaching the maximum level, right? The peak is probably another way to talk about this. So you can replace point with peak. In this case, literally the peak of a mountain or the highest point of a mountain. But here we're talking more economic performance or achievement.
Exactly. 포인트라는 명사가 지점이라는 뜻이 있죠. 그래서 highest point는 가장 높은 지점, 최고점이 되겠습니다. 그래서 peak라는 말로도 이제 대체해도 돼요. 산의 정상 역시 이제 데이터 얘기할 때 최고점, peak, highest point. 근데 어떻게 했다? 거기에 도달했다. To reach its highest point. Oh, here's the headline again. Nearly 1.6 million people in their 20s and 30s were classified as being outside the labor market last month, with that number reaching its highest point since 2021, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics.
Devastating floods and landslides in Indonesia have killed at least 1,000 people and injured more than 5,400 over the past 2 weeks, mostly on the northwestern island of Sumatra, with more than 200 people still unaccounted for, according to the country's National Disaster Mitigation Agency.
인도네시아에서 발생한 대규모 홍수와 산사태로 수마트라 섬 북서부 지역을 중심으로 지난 2주 동안 최소 1,000명의 사망자와 5,400명 이상의 부상자가 나온 가운데 실종자도 200명이 넘는 것으로 전해졌습니다.
Yeah, so it's
Devastating
actually
news.
very devastating. It's the worst rains since a tsunami wreaked havoc back more than 20 years ago in Aceh province there. It's at the northern tip of Sumatra Island there. The final death toll is expected to rise because more than 200 are still missing. More than 1.2 million residents have been forced to take refuge in temporary shelters. And there's a lot of frustration among those flood victims who have complained about the pace of sort of these relief efforts. And costs, they're saying already, could reach into the $3 billion plus zone. So quite a devastating situation that's unfolding in Indonesia.
Exactly. 굉장히 많은 사상자가 나온 이제 인도네시아 상황입니다. 여기서 devastating이라는 표현을 저희가 지금 두세 번 언급을 했는데 what does that mean?
Yeah, devastating means something that causes extreme damage or destruction, but emotionally something could be devastating as well if it gives you emotional distress. So in this case, we're talking about actual loss and damage, human life as well. So in this case, this would be an apt time to use this expression, devastating.
So with the weather, any story that says a devastating hurricane or devastating tornado, in this case devastating floods and landslides, then it means that a lot of land has maybe been affected, in this case people
Right.
as well. 그래서 이제 파괴력이 큰이라는 의미라고 볼 수도 있고요. 뭐 참혹하다 이렇게 해석할 수도 있어요. 우리가 심리적으로도 be devastated 할 수 있죠.
Exactly.
그러면 좌절하는 겁니다.
Right. It's more than just sad, right?
맞아요.
So if you just say, if it's just raining, you wouldn't call that devastating weather, but there needs to be some extreme sort of condition happening.
Exactly. 그래서 devastating floods and landslides. 이 홍수와 산사태가 굉장히 많은 피해를 주고 있다는 것을 이미 헤드라인에서 암시를 하고 있는 거고요. And hundreds of people have been unaccounted for.
That's right. So if you're unaccounted for, that means you are still missing, right? You're not found. There's no explanation of your whereabouts.
Yeah.
And when we see these sort of mass tragedies where people are missing, we say unaccounted for because the opposite, if you account for something, that means something is, there's a record of you somewhere, kind of like what accounting with numbers is, right? Because you're trying to place the value of a number or figure into something. So when we see these types of news, we see people are unaccounted for, means, i.e., they're missing.
unaccounted for라는 것은 이 경우에서는요. 행방불명인, 실종된이라는 뜻이 되겠습니다. 이 단어 자체를 우리가 좀 분석해서 보게 되면은 설명되지 않은 내지는 기록이 없는 이렇게도 볼 수 있는데 좀 자연스럽게 말하면은 실종이 됐다라고 볼 수 있겠죠.
Right. That's a good point because account is a report or a description of an event or an experience, like a story, right?
그렇죠. 그러네요. 우리가 어떤 이야기를 묘사하거나 설명할 때도 it's an account 이렇게 표현할 수도 있고 우리 이제 회계라는 수업도 accounting이라고 하는데 이게 다 뭔가 설명을 하거나 기록을 하거나 하는 것들이죠. 사람에 관해서 unaccounted for 한 사람이 있다. 그러면은 설명이 되지 않는 그런 행방불명 상태가 되겠습니다. 다시 제가 읽어볼게요. Devastating floods and landslides in Indonesia have killed at least 1,000 people and injured more than 5,400 over the past 2 weeks, mostly on the northwestern island of Sumatra, with more than 200 people still unaccounted for, according to the country's National Disaster Mitigation Agency. Here's our next headline.
Experts estimate that toothbrushes stored in bathrooms can host as many as 12 million bacteria and fungi, including those that cause tooth decay, and advise keeping them far away from the toilet, uncovered and upright, so they can air dry at room temperature.
칫솔을 욕실에 보관할 경우 충치 유발균을 포함한 각종 세균과 곰팡이가 최대 1,200만 마리까지 증식할 수 있기 때문에 칫솔은 변기 옆을 피해 똑바로 세워 덮개 등을 덮지 말고 실온에서 자연 건조하는 게 가장 좋은 보관법이라는 전문가 견해가 나왔습니다.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you go home and run away, go home to throw away your toothbrushes, just know that your toothbrush is home to some up to 12 million bacteria and fungi because there's a lot of things happening on your toothbrush. There's the water, saliva, skin cells, traces of food, a perfect environment that allows these microbes to sort of thrive on your toothbrush. And, every so often they're joined by a shower or other microorganisms that arrive when you flush a nearby toilet, for example, or
Yep.
if there's a window open, perhaps if you have a window in your bathroom. So each time you flush the toilet, they say a plume of tiny water droplets are thrown into the air about 1.5 meters into the air around it. So
1.5 meters.
pretty strong
Wow,
toilet,
yeah.
you would think. So
Wow.
the most important thing is to allow your toothbrush to air dry at room temperature. Keep it upright, just as a way to reduce these microbes because there's no way to get rid of them. And of course, not all bacteria and fungi are harmful.
Yep.
But there is the potential for things like streptococci, I think is a bacteria,
Okay.
which can cause tooth decay.
And for those of our listeners curious to know who said this or where it's been reported, this is according to a BBC report. And so if you're curious to know more about this, you could maybe look this up because they have all the quotations there.
Yeah, I may have seen this on a Korean show years ago too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Called Sponge,
Yeah.
possibly. But I may be wrong, but in any case.
오케이. 자, 그래요. 이제 칫솔 보관하는 법. 쉽게 말해서 변기에서 최대한 멀리 떨어뜨리고 그다음에 세워서 자연 건조를 하는 게 좋다. 표현을 좀 보겠습니다. Let's have a look at the word tooth decay or decay in
Decay,
general.
right?
Yeah.
DECAY in and of itself means the gradual process of something being damaged or deteriorating or breaking down.
보통 우리가 뭔가 부패할 때, 아니면 부식할 때, 그럴 때 decaying 한다라고 하잖아요. 우리 치아가 부패하거나 부식하는 거는 이게 뭐죠?
Yeah, it's basically cavities, right?
충치입니다.
Yeah.
네, 맞아요. 그래서 충치를 영어로는 tooth decay라고 부르고요. And what about to keep something upright?
Yeah, if something is upright, one word, right? UPRIGHT, it remains in basically a vertical position, right? It's balanced without falling over. So something like, what is it? Your toothbrush can be in an upright position, but also your posture or your sitting position
Yep.
could be upright, right? I remember my mom would always say, sit upright, right? Instead of slouching because your shoulders will round.
똑바로 앉아.
Yeah.
이렇게
Sit
하셨군요. Sit upright. 한 단어예요. upright라고 하면은 똑바로 세워서라는 뜻이 되겠습니다. Keep something upright는 그런 상태로 보관해라, 세워둬라 이런 뜻이 되겠죠. 하나만 더 언급하면은 이 변기라는 단어 토일레트가 쓰였는데 미국에서는 토일레트가 진짜 그 변기라는 의미로 많이 쓰이지만 영국에서는 토일레트가 화장실이라는 의미로 많이 쓰거든요. 네, 그러면 미국이나 캐나다에서는 화장실을 일반적으로 뭐라고 해요?
Well, in Canada and the U.S. is also very different because in
really?
Canada, you'll hear most of the time washroom.
Washroom.
In Canada, but in the U.S., I think you'll hear bathroom or restroom the most.
그래서 영국인들은 이제 미국인을 놀리는 거예요. 화장실을 bathroom이라고 그러는데 가서 뭐
Right.
목욕할 거야? 아니잖아요.
Right.
그다음에 이제 미국 사람은 영국 사람을 놀리죠. 왜 화장실을 변기라고 불러?
Right.
좋은 단어들 많은데 이렇게
Right.
하면서 재미로 놀리기도 합니다.
And, Americans will make fun of Brits and say, what is a loo? A
맞아.
loo?
A loo. 이거
A
정말
loo
많이
is the toilet?
Yes.
Okay.
The 화장실.
The actual
I
toilet or
I
the
need to-
room?
The room.
The room
I need
itself
to go
is
to
the
the loo.
Gotcha. Okay.
Same as the usage of toilet in the UK.
Gotcha.
그래요. 좀 슬랭인데 많이 쓰는 표현이에요. loo. Right. 화장실 얘기가 길었습니다. 다시 한번 헤드라인 읽어볼게요. Experts estimate that toothbrushes stored in bathrooms can host as many as 12 million bacteria and fungi, including those that cause tooth decay, and advise keeping them far away from the toilet, uncovered and upright, so they can air dry at room temperature. Now here's our final headline.
Exports of Korean seasoned kim are gaining momentum as the U.S., which accounts for 20% of Korea's global kim exports this year, began exempting the popular food from tariffs last month, according to the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries.
올해 우리나라 김 수출의 20%를 차지해 한국 김 최대 해외 수요처가 된 미국이 지난달부터 조미김에 대한 관세를 면제하면서 우리나라 조미김 수출이 탄력을 받고 있다고 해양수산부가 발표했습니다.
Yes. So it's no surprise that Korean kim has
Yep.
become a very popular treat to eat for kids and adults. And the U.S. market is actually one of the biggest or fastest growing markets.
It's so interesting because years ago it was China and now it's the US. I mean, it's yummy. So who wouldn't like Kim?
Exactly. So, and this, of course, also powered by, I think, more exposure in popular culture, K-pop Demon Hunters, just showing what kimbap is and things like that. But the U.S. exports just through November this year. So this year alone, $228 million worth of seasoned kim was exported to the U.S. That's up 16%. About 90% of those are seasoned products. So they're already seasoned in the oil or, there's olive oil,
and salt.
perilla oil, salt, things like that.
조미김.
Other major markets, like you said, China, Japan, Thailand, and Vietnam, all totaling over $1 billion through November. So this year is the first year that kim exports have exceeded $1 billion. And more good news for the industry is that, like in the headline suggests, the U.S. has exempted these tariffs on seasoned kim.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's also significant that this is a Western country accepting the fact that you can eat seaweed. Because what is the word seaweed? 바다 잡초, seaweed.
Literally.
그러니까 사실 서양 사람들의 인식 속에는 아주 오랫동안 미역이라든지 이제 김에 원료가 되는 이런 것들은 다 그냥 바닷속에 자라는 먹을 수 없는 잡초라는 인식이 있었는데 그게 확 바뀐 거예요. 그래서 사실은 이제 동양 국가들에서 김이 인기가 많은 거는 예전부터 이해가 됐지만 우리는 뭐 먹으니까 그렇지만 서양에서는 사람들이 저걸 왜 잡초를 왜 먹어 이런 인식이 아주 오랫동안 있었는데 그거를 역시 K-culture 그다음에 K-down 뭐 이런 여러 가지 그 한류의 소스들이 바꾼 것 같습니다. We're seeing the popularity of Kim gaining momentum.
Right. Momentum or momentum. It means something that's moving faster or becoming stronger. So it's becoming, in this case, more popular.
Sure. Right? Becoming more popular, gaining momentum, 점점 더 활기를 띈다.
Acceleration is another word.
That's
way
right.
to say it, right?
And you mentioned tariffs earlier on and how Kim is now exempt from U.S. tariffs.
Yeah, so if you're exempt from something, EXEMPT, you're officially freed, right, from that rule or requirement. So in this case, a tariff. So you're not subject to that tariff anymore.
그렇죠. You know, some countries allow visitors to stay without a visa. So in that case, you might say there's a visa exemption for people of certain nationalities.
Right. Or seniors are exempt from paying for subway fees here in Korea, right?
That is true. 면제된다는 뜻이죠. To be exempt. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Exports of Korean seasoned kim are gaining momentum as the US, which accounts for 20% of Korea's global kim exports this year, began exempting the popular food from tariffs last month, according to the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. Well, that's it for the headlines this morning.
Korea is on track to become the first country to implement a set of artificial intelligence regulations through the AI Basic Act, scheduled to go into effect on January 22nd of next year.
우리나라가 내년 1월 22일부터 AI 기본법을 시행함에 따라 인공지능 관련 법규를 실제 현장에 적용하는 세계 최초의 국가가 될 것으로 보입니다. Alright, so Korea is going to be the first country in the world to have a law enacted about AI.
Korea often seems to be ahead of the pack when it comes to various aspects of technology. We're certainly up there with the best of them, if not the best. And we're beating the EU. The European Union is meant to have legislation to do with AI coming in August next year.
Right.
But there will probably be some delays. They're thinking until 2027 as well. So we're going to be the first country to do this. And it's quite simple. This AI Basic Act is going to require that any AI-generated content should be clearly identified. So it's either got to have a watermark or some other thing that means us, the consumers, when we look at it, we know this is AI.
Exactly. 앞으로 이제 AI인지 아닌지 확실하게 구별할 수 있게끔 하는 기준, 그런 법규가 우리나라에서 시행이 됩니다. 유럽에도 이런 법규가 지금 진행 중에 있거든요. 그런데 시행은 아마 한참 남았을 것으로 예상이 돼요. 빠르면은 8월, 아니면은 2027년 정도에 유럽에서 시행이 된다고 하는데 우리는 지금 예정은 내년 22일, 한 달 후 정도예요.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I don't know about you, but on social media, I've been seeing people complain about being tricked by AI videos.
Yeah, I always have to go, is this AI or not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, legally speaking, if there has to be some kind of clarification, then we can breathe a little easier and go, okay, somebody made that, or okay, this is real.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens. There has been some pushback by industry insiders and experts who saying, should we be rushing into this? The the EU, seems to be stepping back. And out of 101 domestic AI startups in Korea surveyed by the Startup Alliance, 98% said they haven't put anything in place for this.
Okay.
So I think they're going to have to get their skates on because if and when this law passes, well, they will be mandated to put some kind of watermark or something else to tell us what it is.
And when you say put your skates on, you mean you have to rush it, you have to move ahead.
Exactly.
Quick.
Many mothers and fathers say this to their kids in the UK in the morning. Oh, Sue, get your skates on. The bus is coming in 5 minutes.
Snap, come on,
Yeah.
hurry up. That's what it means, basically. 스케이트를 신는 거는 이제 빨리 나갈 수 있게 하니까요. 앞으로 좀 속도를 내야 될 것이다. 업계에서도 이런 얘기를 지금 해주셨어요. Right, so Korea is on track to have this regulation enacted.
Yes, and if you're on track to do something or something is on track to happen, then it's likely it's going to happen in that way and at that time. We're often looking at a timeline here of this should be finished by this date or this will be done by this date or this will happen by this date. Think of a train going from one station to another on the track.
Yeah.
There is a schedule and it's going to keep to this schedule most likely.
Exactly. So a train track is the image you can maybe have in your head.
Yes.
But there's also a racing track for
sure.
people who run as well.
All kinds of tracks, but the idea is movement from one place to another, and we have some certainty that should happen.
Exactly. 그 트랙 위에 있다라는 것은 계획대로 가고 있다라는 뜻이죠. 이렇게 될 것으로 예상이 되고요. 지금 현재 그렇게 잘 착착 진행이 되고 있다는 뜻입니다. Now, the regulation is going to be implemented.
Yes, it's one thing to pass a law, it's another to implement the law.
Sure.
So if we implement something, we're making it work, we're putting it into effect. It's not just an idea, it's actually happening.
Yep.
So we use this for laws and regulations, we use it for policies in companies and elsewhere, or rules. It's about saying, okay, from now, this is starting.
Exactly. 자, 뭔가를 실행할 때요. implement 한다라고 하죠. 같이 알아두면 좋은 표현이 go into effect.
네.
효력이 발생되다라는 표현 같이 알아두면 좋겠습니다.
And if you want to remember the meaning of implement, think of the noun. The noun is a tool of some kind. So it's all about doing. Not about thinking, it's all about doing.
What is the noun?
An implement.
Oh.
An implement is a tool of some kind.
is it?
Yeah, but when we use it in verb form to implement something, it suggests there is an action. This is happening.
Right. Well, let me read the headline one more time. Korea is on track to become the first country to implement a set of artificial intelligence regulations through the AI Basic Act, scheduled to go into effect on January 22nd of next year. Let's move on to the next headline.
Korea was ranked 7th among the world's most powerful countries in 2025 by CEO World magazine, reflecting its expanding global influence driven increasingly by soft power alongside industrial and strategic strength.
미국의 경제 매체 CEO 월드 매거진이 선정한 2025년 세계에서 가장 영향력 있는 국가 순위에서 한국이 7위에 올랐습니다. 이는 산업 및 전략적 강점에 더해 문화 등의 소프트 파워로 한국의 글로벌 영향력이 갈수록 커지고 있음이 반영된 결과로 분석됩니다. Tell us more.
Well, if we look at who's above us, I think it's fairly clear who's going to be in the top 6. We've got the US in number 1 at the moment, then China, then Russia, then India, then the UK, then Japan. So these are our top six in this central reality of global order. But we have come in at number 7, getting 94.18. That means we're beating France, Italy, Turkey. Germany is much lower than us at 90.40. We're doing very well in terms of this power as a nation. And it's all thanks to this soft power. If you look at military power, it might be judged differently. We might have a different top 7. But when it includes soft power, we are doing very, very well. Because let's face it, everybody loves the K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah, exactly. And when we talk about soft power, we are, of course, talking about a lot of the cultural aspects and K-pop, K-culture, Hallyu,
yeah.
all of that is playing a big part.
Also sports as well. I was talking to a taxi
Sure.
driver the other day about Son Heung-min.
Yes.
And talking about how popular he was in the UK. That's soft power in
Definitely.
action.
Yeah. Do you know how many Korean fans, they were paying attention to the Premier League just because of Sonny?
4,073,000.
Oh, okay.
No, just a guess.
That was a rhetorical question. But anyway, yes, indeed. So Korea is the 7th most powerful country according to CEO World Magazine. 이제 순위를 보게 되면은 미국, 중국, 러시아, 인도, 영국, 일본, 한국 순위였습니다.
네.
그다음에 그 한국 아래로는 이제 보면은 프랑스, 이탈리아, 터키, 튀르키예라고 하죠. 우리 이제 독일 등등등이 있었습니다. Alright, so let's have a look at expanding global influence.
So if something is expanding, it's growing, it's getting bigger or wider or longer.
Yep.
And global influence is how much influence or how much power we have over other countries. So here, Korea has more power in terms of dealing with other countries or having more ability to suggest things to other countries or to maybe introduce new foods or new movies or new music, whatever it may be. We have a bigger power than before.
Exactly. Global influence, 세계적인 영향력을 expand, 확장하고 있는 거예요. 그래서 확장이나 확대는 expand고요. 연장은 extend가
네.
되겠죠. 요거 두 개가 비슷해 보이지만 살짝 차이가 있으니까 꼭 알아두시고요. What about soft power?
Well, the Korean is soft power, and it means not talking about your military might or your technological might or your hard imports and hard exports.
Right, that's hard power.
It's
Yeah.
culture and it's sports. It's everything to do with the nuance aspects of Korea in terms of spreading ideas about Korea, spreading Korea's image, making Korea look good, making people want to come to Korea.
Exactly. 그러니까 영향을 미칠 수 있는 여러 가지 파워들이 있는데요. 한 국가를 놓고 봤을 때 뭐 군사력이라든지 경제 제재 같은 것들은 좀 이제 하드하죠. 강압적인 그런 파워라고 볼 수 있다면은 그게 아니라 문화, 외교, 아까 뭐 스포츠 얘기도 하셨는데
네.
다 마찬가지겠죠. 음악도 포함이 돼 있고 뭐 그런 이미지 이런 것들을 통해서 다른 나라에 영향을 미치는 것이 soft power가 되겠습니다. 자, 그러면 다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. Korea was ranked 7th among the world's most powerful countries in 2025 by CEO World Magazine, reflecting its expanding global influence, driven increasingly by soft power, alongside industrial and strategic strength.
Researchers in Korea have identified a potential cause of cognitive disorders, including memory impairment and dementia, linked to COVID-19 infection.
코로나19 바이러스 감염이 집중력, 기억력 저하와 치매 등 인지장애를 유발할 수 있다는 한국 연구진의 연구 결과가 발표됐습니다.
This is really good news that we have another key to unlocking the mysteries of dementia and cognitive disorders. This is all thanks to a team from the Korean National Institute of Health. What they've done is they found a spike protein from the COVID-19 virus. It's called S1. And what it does is it directly affects your nerve cells and blocks the connections. So therefore, those signals can't be transmitted properly to the brain.
I see.
So when they've done tests on mice, there were reduced learning and memory abilities. There was increased anxiety when they were in unfamiliar environments. And those symptoms are similar to some of the symptoms some humans got after COVID-19. The good news is, though, that even though they've discovered this, you're worrying about it, but there is a diabetes medication, metformin. And when that is used, at least in these test conditions, it helped to restore nerve cell function again, and it lowered the toxic protein levels.
that's great.
So they
Yeah.
found not only the problem, but also the possible cure.
그래요. 코로나19로 인해서 인지 장애가 생길 수 있는 그런 인자들을 발견을 했고 거기에서 이제 끝난 게 아니고요. 그것을 어느 정도 치료해 줄 수 있는 약이 있더라라는 것까지도 발견이 됐습니다. Alright, let's have a look at this word here. Potential cause.
Yes. So the cause of something is what makes something happen, the reason for it to happen, whether it's forcing it to do it, whether it's changing it, whatever it is the reason, it is the cause. If something is a potential cause, that means it doesn't necessarily mean it is the cause, but it could be. It's possible. And I would say when I use potential, it's going to be 50% or over. You get the feeling that it's a little more likely than not.
Yeah. 잠재적인 원인, potential cause. Now, what about impairment?
When we use the word impairment, we're using it for something that has been damaged in some way or cannot be used 100%. Can't be used to its full extent because of it. Both Sue and I have visual impairments, for which we use glasses, we use spectacles.
You're not wearing them now.
No, because I'm short-sighted. And I can see my script. You're just a blur, Sue, but I can read my script.
Okay.
My father has hearing aids because he has a hearing impairment. His hearing is not what it used to be. So this term means if we have an impairment of some kind, we have some damage or we're not able to function at 100%.
그래요. impairment라는 거는 무언가의 기능이 저하됐다는 뜻이에요. 그래서 memory impairment 그러면은 기억력이 저하됐다는 의미가 되겠죠. 지금 그 외에도 뭐 시력, 청력 얘기를 쭉 해주셨는데 vision impairment, hearing impairment 다 마찬가지입니다. How do you spell impairment?
I-M-P-A-I-R-M-E-N-T.
Okay. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어볼게요. Researchers in Korea have identified a potential cause of cognitive disorders, including memory impairment and dementia, linked to COVID-19 infection. Now let's move on to the next headline.
US-based online career platform Glassdoor has named fatigue its word of the year, chosen from terms showing the strongest growth in posts, comments, and reviews on the site.
미국에 본사를 둔 글로벌 직장 평가 사이트 글라스도어가 자사 사이트의 게시물과 댓글 그리고 리뷰에서 특히 높은 사용 빈도를 보인 단어들을 분석해 2025년 올해의 단어로 피로, fatigue를 선정했습니다.
Yeah, this is the time of year where we get a competition in terms of words of the year. Every platform, every journal, every dictionary is always naming what their word of the year is. What's interesting is this platform, Glassdoor, which focuses on careers, for people posting there, for people commenting and reviewing there. The word that was most related to work that was used was fatigue. So that was up by 41%.
Yep.
Tariffs and agentic. Two words were used a lot more, but they're not really work related. They're more about what's happening in the industry, in the business world.
Yep.
So yes, that seems to be a big thing. Stagflation was another big thing, and misaligned and disengagement were also more popular. What's interesting when we look elsewhere, The Economist says slop is its word of the year. Because of AI junk videos or text.
Yep.
The Oxford English Dictionary went with rage bait, which is when people make videos or posts to try and make you angry online. And dictionary.com went for the teenager's favorite, 6-7. Not sure how I feel about that.
그래요. 네, 올해의 단어가 이렇게 다른 사전이나 다른 매거진에 의해서 각각 다르게 선정이 됐습니다. 지금 얘기하고 있는 Glassdoor는 쉽게 말하면은 구인구직에 활용되는 웹사이트인데요. 단순히 구인구직 정보만 올라오는 게 아니라 서로 정보를 공유할 수 있도록 포럼이 형성이 되어 있어서 이런 직장에서 내가 예전에 이런 일을 했는데 뭐 하면서 블라블라블라 뭐 이렇다 저렇다 평소에 우리가 알기 힘든 것들 그런 것들도 서로 공유를 하거든요. 근데 아마 굉장히 피곤했다. 피로감이 많았다라는 얘기들이 많이 언급이 된 모양이에요. 그러니까 올해의 단어로 선정이 됐죠. Let's have a look at some of the stats. So you said earlier on that the percentage of people or the percentage of
the use of the word.
The use of the word went up. How much?
By fatigue was by 41%.
Okay.
Which is quite a lot. But when you look at tariffs, that was up by 860%.
Oh, wow.
Because let's face it, all year long, everybody's been talking about tariffs, but it's not really work-related.
Okay.
And agentic, which is to do with AI, that was up 2,244%. Again, everybody's talking about AI. That's not really work. And I think everybody's really tired, Sue. A lot of people have had a very hard year.
맞아요. 1년 전에 비해서 피로, fatigue라는 단어의 사용 빈도수가 41% 늘었다고 합니다. 글라스도어 웹사이트에서 사용된 것을 보는 거고요. 그 외에도 사실 더 많이 사용이 된 단어들도 있지만 아마 또 절대적인 사용 횟수도 봤을 것 같아요.
네.
그래서 올해의 단어로 fatigue가 선정이 됐네요. Alright, what's an online platform?
It's a website, Sue, and it's online, meaning it's on the internet. An online platform is usually going to be something that's offering you some kind of service, like Glassdoor, which is all about jobs
Yep.
and interacting to do with jobs, or it could be shopping. It could be buying things. So an online platform is for users and consumers to do whatever online.
온라인에서 어떤 서비스를 제공하는 기반이니까 그냥 웹사이트라고 볼 수 있겠죠.
Yeah, but it has the sense of it's not just a teeny tiny website. It's quite a big website with a
big
lot of
one.
users.
Exactly. 자, 그 다음에는 posts, comments, and reviews.
We're here, we're talking about a forum. So a post on a forum is when you start a new topic and you write something about the new topic. Comments are people replying to that post.
Yep.
And then the reviews are what people are saying about a person, a product, a job, or a company.
post는 게시글, comment는 댓글, 그리고 review는 review가 되겠죠.
Yeah, so on any social media site, no matter where you are, there are always going to be posts and comments. So a post could be text, it could be a photo, and comments are always going to be replies to whatever that is.
그래서 이런 거를 두루두루 다 공유하는 그런 웹사이트라는 의미에서 온라인 플랫폼이 쓰인 것 같아요. 사실 그냥 단순히 뭐 구직, 구인, 정보만 올라왔으면 굳이 플랫폼이란 단어는 안 썼을 것 같아요.
네.
그냥 웹사이트 했을 것
맞아요.
같은데 네, 이제 많은 컨버세이션이 오고 가는 사이트이기 때문에 Glassdoor is an online platform and there are many posts, comments and reviews 이렇게 표현을 하네요. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. US-based online career platform Glassdoor has named fatigue its word of the year, chosen from terms showing the strongest growth in posts, comments and reviews on the site. Now for our final headline.
Egypt has unveiled two colossal alabaster statues of King Amenhotep III at his mortuary temple on Luxor's West Bank after an extensive restoration and reinstallation returned the monuments to their original locations.
이집트가 남부 룩소르의 장제전에 세워진 거대 파라오 조각상 2점을 공개했습니다. 이 조각상은 설화석고로 고대 파라오 아멘호테프 3세의 모습을 조각한 것으로 장기간 복원 및 원 위치로의 재설치 과정을 거쳤습니다. Okay, tell us more about what's been unveiled.
Well, these are magnificent and they're also ancient. This mortuary temple of Amenhotep III, it was built in the 14th century BCE, so thousands upon thousands of years ago. It was once one of the largest and most richly decorated of these temples for the dead, these funerary temples or mortuary temples. And they've been working on this since 1998. It's almost 30 years on this project. And the idea was to conserve as much of the temple as they could and also restore the statues as well as safeguarding the site. Because the desert, you may think sand and nothing else, but there's wind, there's sandstorms, there's so much going on. They want to protect everything there. And so these two statues, I think, are really symbolic of the success of this project. One of them is 13.6 meters high. The other is 14.5 meters high. Yeah, and they're the king sitting with his hands on his thighs, wearing his double crown. He's got his big ceremonial beard. There's a bull's tail, and there's other members of the royal court around him. It's quite incredible. And I think a lot of thanks go out to these hardworking hundreds, if not thousands of people who spend their lives dedicated to preserving these kind of historical relics.
그러게 말입니다. 거대한 석상이 지금 이렇게 공개가 된 건데요. 복원하는 작업만 한 20년이 걸렸다고 합니다. 자, 표현을 한번 볼까요? 거대하다. big.
As Trump would say,
네.
huge!
H 발음을 잘 안 하네요. 트럼프 대통령이.
Huge, he
huge도
says.
있고 big도 있는데
Yeah.
colossal.
Massive. Absolutely massive.
Same
Bigger
thing,
than just big. It's very,
Exactly.
very, 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 very big.
그래요.
if we-
콜로세움 생각하면 되잖아요.
Or
우리가.
the statue of Colossus. Colossus was a massive statue in
Yeah.
Rhodes. It was this figure of a man straddling over the estuary. Absolutely huge. So when we think of something being colossal, it's bigger than everything else.
Exactly. 자, 굉장히 크다, 거대하다, colossal 씁니다. 자, 그 다음으로 뭘 한 거죠? Restoration and reinstallation.
Yes, a restoration is when we restore something back to its original state. We make it look and be like it was when it was first made.
Yeah.
And if we reinstall something, a reinstallation, that's when we put it back in somewhere. So, for example, restoration we'll use for old paintings and statues, traditional costumes as well. We might restore them. We do that process of restoration. Reinstallation, we think of putting things back where they need to be. When Sungnaemun was burnt down, quite a few years ago, they took all the bits apart, they repaired, they restored what they could, and then they reinstalled the gate. They put it back where it belonged.
그래요. installing이 설치하는 거니까 reinstalling은 재설치가 되겠죠. 명사 형태는 reinstallation. 그리고 restoration은 복원.
네.
다시 읽어보겠습니다. Egypt has unveiled two colossal alabaster statues of King Amenhotep III at his mortuary temple on Luxor's West Bank after an extensive restoration and reinstallation returned the monuments to their original locations. All right, well, that's it for the headlines.
3 out of 10 young people in the country say they have experienced burnout or physical or emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress or frustration, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics.
국가데이터처가 내놓은 보고서에 따르면 우리나라 청년 3명 중 1명은 오랜 스트레스와 좌절감으로 인한 육체적, 정신적 소진 상태를 뜻하는 번아웃을 경험한 적이 있는 것으로 나타났습니다.
Yep.
Unfortunate news to get us started today. Tell us about this.
I know. So, 3 in 10 young people in Korea, they say that they've experienced burnout, and it's been caused by stress or frustration continuing for a very long time. And this is according to government data that was released on Tuesday. So the Statistics Research Institute found that 32.2% of these young people reported burnout last year, which is slightly down from 33.9% that was recorded in 2022, although the share outside the capital region rose to 33.3%. And when you look at the different genders or sex, they say that women were more affected than men at 36.2% versus 28.6%, with the highest rate among those aged 25 to 29, and career anxiety was the leading cause of burnout at 39.1%, followed by overwork and skepticism about tasks. So it seems like whether you have a job or not is a major cause of stress. And if you do have a job, being overloaded with work is also a major cause of stress.
Either way, it's really tough. 자, 주로 이렇게 힘들다, 번아웃을 경험했다라고 하는 연령대는 25세에서 29세고요. 성별로 보면은 여성이 남성보다 더 많았고, 주요 이 번아웃의 원인으로는 Career Anxiety니까 취업 스트레스라고 볼 수 있겠죠. 그 다음에는 이제 두 번째 이유는 과로가 되겠습니다. Alright, we're looking at reasons a lot of young people are exhausted.
Yes.
Let's have a look at exhaustion.
Exhaustion. So that's basically a state of extreme physical or mental or emotional fatigue when you're very, very, very tired.
Yesterday, we had a story about Glassdoor choosing the word fatigue as its word of the year, because Glassdoor is also a career website.
Yeah.
And the word that they found most people using when they were talking to each other on these forums was fatigue.
Fatigue.
So again, although Glassdoor is a global website, it's in line with what's happening in Korea. A lot of youngsters are burnt out.
They're burned out.
They're exhausted.
Yeah, they're exhausted from looking for jobs or maybe hearing from other people about when are you going to get a job.
And even if they have a job,
they're exhausted.
Still exhausted.
So I wonder if you have all the money, that you need, and
if you're Elon Musk.
Yeah, and if you don't need to worry about finding a job, or you don't need to work, if you just go to work for fun, would you not be burnt out?
That's a good question.
Yeah, would you not be stressed at all? I
Yeah.
wonder. Let us know. Let us know.
자, exhaustion이라는 것은 탈진이라고 볼 수도 있겠죠. 극도의 피로감입니다. 그래서 I'm so exhausted. 나 너무 피곤해. 이런 뜻이 되겠고요.
Yeah, it's a little more extreme from tired.
True.
Yeah.
True. tired가 글쎄요. 1부터 10에서 한 몇으로 볼까요? 5?
Well, yeah, if you say 5, then exhaustion is like at a 10.
훨씬 더. 네. Because if fumes are exhausted, that means you're out of fumes.
Yes.
자, 소진이라는 의미도 있습니다. What about prolonged?
Prolonged. So you see the word long in there. So it means something has gone on for a very long time or longer than usual.
그렇죠. prolonged something. 장기간 이어지는 무엇. A lot of people are suffering from prolonged colds these days.
Yeah.
It's just, what would be the word? It's just going on for ages.
Yeah, it's lengthy.
Yeah. 그래요. prolonged something. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. 3 out of 10 young people in the country say they have experienced burnout or physical or emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress or frustration, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics. All right, let's move on to the second headline.
Time magazine has recognized the most influential figure of 2025 as the architects of artificial intelligence, including Jensen Huang and Fei-Fei Li, featuring them collectively on its Person of the Year cover.
미국 시사 주간지 타임이 2025년에 세계에서 가장 큰 영향을 미친 올해의 인물로 젠슨 황과 페이페이 리 등을 포함한 소위 인공지능 분야의 설계자들을 선정하면서 이들의 모습을 다 함께 표지에 실었습니다. All right, so the cover of this year's Time magazine and of the Person of the Year is not actually one person.
Yeah.
It's many people. Tell us more.
Yeah. So usually you see just one person there, but this year they decided on featuring a number of people. They're calling them the architects of artificial intelligence, and it's actually the first time the honor has gone to a collective group rather than the individual in a while. So figures featured include NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, ex-owner Elon Musk, which we will talk about later, AI pioneer Fei-Fei Li, alongside other leading tech executives. Time said that the choice reflects how rapidly AI and the companies behind it are reshaping society, shifting the focus from cautious debate to rapid deployment. And the editor-in-chief of Time magazine said that no group had more influence in 2025 than those who imagined, designed, and built, or so the architects of AI. And it's not the first time that the Person of the Year has been a large group,
Oh, really?
with Ebola fighters being handed it in 2014 and whistleblowers back in 2002.
그러니까 올해 인물이 이렇게 딱 한 명이 아니라 여러 명인 적이 예전에도 여러 번 있었군요. 자, 이번 같은 경우에는요. AI의 설계자들이라고 해서 올해 인물이라고는 하지만 올해 인물들입니다.
Yeah, persons of the
명이에요.
year. Yep.
네, 그래요. On the cover of Time magazine, I'm looking at it right now. You have all these different AI architects sort of in one row. They're seated on what looks like some sort of scaffolding on top of the city. There's the skyline, of course, you can see.
Yeah.
And they didn't obviously shoot this. They got each of the individual pictures
It's
and
probably
they
AI.
pasted it. Probably did use AI for this, but it's obviously the separate individual pictures pasted into one page. But it's interesting. I can see Let's have a look. As you said,
One person's face is kind of cut off.
near the end, I believe that would be Fei Fei Li
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah.
Not completely cut
But,
off,
like,
but
at the side there,
slightly
yeah.
there. I can see Lisa Su as well, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Jensen Huang, and many others there. So yeah, the architects of AI have been chosen as the people.
They're seated above the world.
Yes.
Yeah, above the
Very
city.
symbolic,
yeah,
isn't
so
it?
take a look. I remember when I used to have a subscription to Time magazine back in the day.
Me too. All right, what's an influential figure, Karen?
Okay, so these are all influential figures, right? So they are people whose ideas, actions, or leadership significantly shape opinions, behaviors, or events in a specific field or society, and they often drive change, innovation, or movements.
그래요. 영향력 있는 인물을 influential figure라고 하겠죠. What about featuring these people collectively?
Yeah, right. So if you feature something, this means to, like in a newspaper or magazine article, it means to devote like a particular topic at length to someone or to something, like a particular topic. And when you say collectively, that means as a group or as a whole, so together. So they've been, they're on the cover together, all together.
공동으로 피처링이 됐다. 공동으로 등장한 여러 인물 이렇게 볼 수 있겠네요. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Time magazine has recognized the most influential figure of 2025 as the architects of AI, including Jensen Huang and Fei Fei Li, featuring them collectively on its Person of the Year cover.
Spain has fined Airbnb 64 million euros for advertising unlicensed tourist rentals, marking the latest step in its crackdown on short-term rental platforms amid the country's ongoing housing affordability challenges, especially in city centers.
스페인 정부는 숙박 공유 서비스 에어비앤비가 허가받지 않은 불법 관광용 숙소를 플랫폼에 노출했다는 이유로 이 회사에 6,400만 유로, 우리 돈으로 약 1,100억 원의 벌금을 부과했습니다. 이는 스페인 도심 지역들이 특히 심각한 주택난을 겪고 있는 상황에서 정부가 단기 임대 플랫폼들의 강경한 입장을 취한 가장 최근 조치에 해당합니다. Tell us more.
Right. So like you mentioned, the fine is about 110 billion won, approximately 95 million US dollars. So the fine was for advertising unlicensed tourist rentals, and the government is basically intensifying its crackdown on short-term rental platforms, and this comes amid housing affordability or a housing affordability crisis in the country. Authorities say many listings lacked valid license numbers or contained incorrect host information, violations of regional rules. And Airbnb said that it will challenge the fine in court and noted that more than 70,000 listings have added registration numbers under a new national system since January. This move follows a May order to remove about 65,000 Airbnb listings and comes as Spain increasingly blames short-term rentals for driving up housing costs in major cities. Barcelona, meanwhile, plans to phase out all licensed short-term rental apartments by 2028 in order to protect housing for residents.
Okay. So basically, Airbnb is going to appeal, it sounds like.
Yes.
You said they're going to challenge this
Yeah.
accusation or allegation.
Yeah.
그래요. 항소를 할 것으로 보여지네요.
Well, it is a
에어비앤비가.
pretty big fine.
그렇죠.
So, yeah.
네, 너무 좀 부당하다라는 입장인 것 같은데 스페인 정부가 에어비앤비를 상대로 이렇게 벌금을 부과했습니다. 자, 표현을 한번 볼까요? Unlicensed.
Right. Unlicensed means not having an official license or not having an official document that gives you permission to do, own, or make something.
Unlicensed니까 라이센스가 없는 무허가가 되겠네요. 우리 자동차 저 운전자 뭐라 그러죠?
Driver?
아니 그 우리말 갑자기 생각이 안 나. 면허증.
Yes,
운전면허증.
운전면허증.
아 그래. 운전면허증. 그걸 영어로 뭐라 그러죠?
Driver's license.
네, I was thinking driver's license,
Yeah.
and then I forgot the expression in Korean. 갑자기 자동차? 이게 아닌데, 네, 맞아요. 운전면허증을 driver's license라고 하죠. 네, 면허증이란 뜻이 있습니다. What about housing affordability challenges?
Yeah, so housing affordability is basically the ability of a household to pay for housing costs like rent or mortgage or taxes or insurance or utilities without sacrificing other basic needs like food, healthcare, or transportation. That means it's affordable, but having challenges to do that means that it's very difficult
Yeah.
for the average citizen to be able to pay for wherever they're living in, whether it's rent or whether it's mortgage, without sacrificing other basic needs like paying for food or healthcare.
Yeah, if we go to a restaurant and we think the price is okay, we'll say, oh, this is affordable.
Yes.
But if it looks really expensive, oh, this is, a bit out of my range. Or
Yeah.
you could say, this is not affordable, it's too expensive, it's a rip-off. So anything that is affordable means, you can pay for it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's not a reach.
그죠. 금액적으로 감당할 수 있는 정도가 affordable 한 거고요. housing affordability니까요. 집값에 대한 얘기인데, 그래도 좀 감당이 되는 정도의 집값이면은, this house is affordable.
Yeah.
이렇게 얘기를 하겠죠. 자, 그런데 지금 얘기하는 건 뭐냐면 바로 집값이 감당하기 어려울 정도로 높다는 얘기입니다. So housing affordability challenges.
Yeah.
And as you said, challenges means difficulties. 어려움이라는 의미의 challenges가 붙어서요. 집값 또는 임대료 감당의 어려움이 되겠습니다. 다시 한번 제가 읽어볼게요. Spain has fined Airbnb 64 million euros for advertising unlicensed tourist rentals, marking the latest step in its crackdown on short-term rental platforms amid the country's ongoing housing affordability challenges, especially in city centres. Let's move on to the next headline.
Elon Musk has moved closer to becoming the world's first trillionaire as SpaceX doubled its valuation in just a few months, boosting his personal fortune to over $600 billion, which is more than Korea's 2026 budget.
일론 머스크가 세계 최초로 개인 재산 1조 달러를 넘기는 자산가가 될 가능성이 높아졌습니다. 이는 스페이스X의 기업 가치가 불과 몇 달 사이에 2배로 상승하면서 일론 머스크의 자산도 6천억 달러를 넘어선 데 따른 것으로 이는 우리나라 내년 예산보다도 많은 액수입니다. So this one individual, Elon Musk, now is worth more than Korea's entire national budget for next year.
A country's budget. Yep.
Tell us more.
Yes, so his net worth has surged past 600 billion for the first time. As we mentioned, it's been fueled by SpaceX tender offer, valuing the company at $800 billion US dollars, up from $400 billion back in August. And this is according to investors cited by Forbes magazine. Musk owns about 42% of SpaceX, and so he's and it's now worth an estimated $677 billion. So that makes him the wealthiest person in history and the first ever to cross the $600 billion mark. As we mentioned, this figure exceeds Korea's projected 2026 national budget and leaves him far ahead of the world's second richest person, who is Larry Page, Google's co-founder. SpaceX is reportedly targeting a 2026 IPO that could value the firm at around $1.5 trillion, a move that could make Musk the world's first trillionaire.
그래요. 지금 아직은 아니지만 일론 머스크가 이대로 간다면은 세계 최초 자산 1조 달러의 부호가 될 것으로 보입니다. 뭐 지금도 굉장히 부유하지만 현재는 자산 가치 6,770억 달러가 되겠어요. 자, 그러면 he's moving closer to becoming the world's first trillionaire.
Yeah. If you move closer to becoming something, that just means you're nearly something or you're almost something.
Yep. closer는 더 가까워진다라는 뜻이 있어서 move closer to becoming a trillionaire. 1조 자산가가 되는 방향으로 좀 더 가까이 다가가고 있다. What about boosting?
Boosting. So boost means to help or encourage something to increase or improve.
자, boost라는 것은 쫙 끌어올린다라는 뜻이죠. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 제가 읽어보겠습니다. Elon Musk has moved closer to becoming the world's first trillionaire as SpaceX doubled its valuation in just a few months, boosting his personal fortune to over $600 billion, which is more than Korea's 2026 budget. Now let's move on to the final headline.
Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You has achieved a record-breaking 20th week at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, marking the longest number 1 reign in the chart's 67-year history.
팝 가수 마라이어 캐리의 노래 All I Want for Christmas Is You가 미국 빌보드 싱글 차트 핫 100에서 비연속 통산 20주째 1위에 오르면서 해당 차트 67년 역사상 최장기간 1위라는 신기록을 세웠습니다. All right.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious because we hear this every single year and it always climbs to the charts around this time of year.
Yeah.
So she has claimed the Hot 100's number 1 longevity record for a second time. In 1995 to 96, her and Boyz II Men's One Sweet Day dominated for 16 weeks. It's a mark that stood on its own for more than 23 years until it was tied by Luis Fonsi and Daddy Yankee's Despacito, featuring Justin Bieber in 2017, and then passed by Old Town Road. All I Want for Christmas Is You also logged its 77th week on the Hot 100, tying Dua Lipa's Levitating as the longest charted title ever by a woman artist. So All I Want for Christmas Is You became Carey's 19th Hot 100 number 1, the most among soloists, and one away from the Beatles' overall record 20. It also made Carey the first artist to have ranked at number 1 on the chart in 4 distinct decades, so the 1990s, 20s, 2010s, and 2020s.
That's so many records.
Yep.
Number 1 for this, number 1 for that. Well, she's definitely achieved a lot. Let's have a look at the word achieve.
Right, achieve. So that means to successfully bring about or reach a desired objective. It could be a level or result by effort, skill, or courage.
무언가를 달성하는 게 바로 achieving이 되겠죠. 이번에는 이제 빌보드 핫 100에서 비연속 통산 20주째 1위하는 기록을 달성했습니다. What about the longest number 1 reign?
Yeah, so when we talk about reign, we're talking about like the period where a sovereign, like a king, rules. But here we're talking about how long a song has been on the chart. So this song has been at number 1. It's been ruling as the number 1 song for the longest time.
How do you spell reign?
Rain. So it's spelled it's not R-A-I-N like rain that falls from the sky, but it's pronounced the same way, but it's spelled R-E-I-G-N.
왕이나 여왕이 그 왕자의 자리에 앉아 있는 것. 그러니까 그 자리를 유지하고 지키는 것. 이런 것들을 reigning이라고 하죠. So, you know, for any country that does have a king or queen, you say this king has reigned for 5 years.
Yep.
Or 20 years, or this queen is the reigning queen. And also in sports as well.
Yep.
The champions, you might say, this team is the reigning champion.
Yes.
Meaning they've kept that top position for a few years, maybe.
Yep.
그래서 계속해서 우승을 한 팀이 있으면은, 그 reigning champion. 여기서도 똑같이 R-E-I-G-N, I-N-G를 쓰기도 합니다. 그 왕좌 같은 그 1위 자리를 계속해서 차지하고 있는 거니까요. So in this case, it's a noun, the longest number 1 reign in the chart's 67-year history. 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You has achieved a record-breaking 20th week at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, marking the longest number one reign in the chart's 67-year history. All right, well, that's it for the headlines with Karen.
The number of Korean workers who took parental leave last year hit a record high, according to the latest government data, with fathers accounting for a record 29%, up 3.5 percentage points from the previous year.
최신 정부 자료에 따르면 지난해 육아휴직자 수가 역대 최다를 기록했으며 이 중 아빠의 비중은 전년 대비 3.5%포인트 상승한 29%로 역대 최대 수준을 보였습니다. So more and more fathers are taking time off to look after their kids. Traditionally, it was the mothers that did this. And then even though the law changed and fathers were allowed to do so, I guess there was the whole 눈치 thing in Korea. It wasn't easy for guys, I guess, to say, I want to take some time off to take care of my baby.
Yeah, I think also just culturally speaking, going back, a long time, traditionally it's kind of seen that way that, roles are kind of defined differently in Korea. But, under Korean law, parents of children aged 8 years or younger, or those in the second grade of elementary school or below, are eligible for up to 1 year of maternity or paternity leave. And among those taking leave in 2024, the number of fathers reached 60,000, and that's an increase of 9,000 from the previous year.
와우. 작년에 육아휴직을 낸 아버지들이 그러니까 6만 명 정도였는데요. 전해 대비 9천 명 정도가 늘었습니다. 그래서 점점 더 이제 아빠들도 육아휴직을 많이 내고 있는 모습이라고 볼 수 있을 텐데요. 이런 휴직이라는 표현을 좀 볼게요. Leave.
Leave, yeah. We'll take a leave. Yeah.
Yes.
So it can be like a leave of absence. It could be a parental leave or a maternity leave.
Yep.
We use it to show that we're taking time off of something. So leave is to kind of like to go away, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go away from work or from school or a responsibility that you traditionally have.
So you say, for example, you're sick and you want to take some time off work, then you would take
A sick leave. Yes,
아하.
sick leave.
그래요. 이런 식으로 휴가를 내거나 휴직을 하거나 할 때 leave라는 표현을 쓸 수 있고 동사 take로 표현을 하는데요. 우리가 여름 방학 아이들 방학에 맞춰서 이제 가는 놀러 가는 그런 휴가는 leave가 아니고요. 다른 이유들 있잖아요. 아파서 아니면 지금 말한 것처럼 아이들 돌보기 위해서 또 뭐가 있을 수 있죠? 연차, 월차, 반차 이런 것들. 그런 거.
Sometimes it could be just, I need a personal leave. So it could be something
okay.
where you don't want to disclose what it is. Maybe someone in your family is ill or
Yeah.
something that's personal to you, but you don't need to divulge it with your boss or other people. So you might say, I was wondering if I could request a personal leave.
Personal
or
leave.
A personal leave of absence. It could be as well. And usually when you're taking a leave of absence, typically it's unpaid. Or it
Yeah.
could be called an unpaid leave as well.
Unless you say it's a paid leave.
Sure,
right?
yeah. Or it's negotiated in some way, shape, or form. Your boss, if they're very generous, depending on how long it is too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a leave of absence, it could be months or up to a year in some cases, like a paternity leave. So it just means that your job is secure,
Yeah.
that you can go back to it if you were to say, okay, I need a leave of absence.
Yeah.
But typically you're not paid for that duration.
However-
or it could be a small portion
Right.
is paid.
Yeah. The parental leave system in Korea for employees at companies is a paid leave, of course. You won't, I don't think it's 100%
Yeah, I
what
don't
you would
think it's
normally
100,
get,
yeah.
but still, you do get some sort of payment. 자, 이렇게 a leave, take a leave 라고 하면은 이렇게 뭐 휴직하다, 아니면 휴가를 내다가 되겠고요. 여러 가지 leave가 있는데요. 지금 leave of absence가 가장 일반적인 그냥 쉬는 거, 휴직하는 것이고, 육아휴직, parental leave, 그 중에서도 이제 엄마가 육아휴직을 내면은 maternity leave, 그 다음에 이제 아니면 maternity
Maternity,
leave.
yeah.
아빠가 쉬면은
Parental.
paternal.
Or paternal. So, yeah.
네. 아빠가 쉬면은 paternal 아니면 paternity leave 이렇게 표현을 하면 되겠죠.
Sometimes it could also be a medical leave. So like if there's something that you need to fix yourself for medical purposes and you need to take care of your health as a priority over your job or your responsibility, then you can take a medical leave as well.
질병을 치료하기 위해서 내는 휴가는 또 medical leave가 되겠네요. And how about to account for something?
When you use the word accounting, typically we think of like numbers, right? Like, oh, I'm an accountant, I'm worried about taxes and things like that. And in the same sort of way, with fathers here accounting for a certain amount, it says here a record 29%. So we're talking about how many fathers are being counted for. So when you add up the numbers.
Yeah. 그리고 숫자와 관련된 표현인데 accounting은 우리가 회계학이라고 하는 것처럼 근데 account for라고 하면은요 어떤 비율 아니면 어떤 부분을 차지하다. 그래서 fathers accounted for 29% of all parents who took time off for parental leave. 엄마, 아빠들이 육아휴직을 작년에 많이 냈는데요. 그중에서 아빠들이 차지한 비율이 29%다. 이런 표현이 되겠습니다. A few days ago, we looked at the expression unaccounted for, and it was about a disaster and how a lot of people are still unaccounted for. That means they're missing.
Yes, and I was just about to say at the same time we do say like if you are accounted for, then you've been included in the total. So we do talk about that in that form as well.
자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. The number of Korean workers who took parental leave last year hit a record high according to the latest government data, with fathers accounting for a record 29%, up 3.5 percentage points from the previous year. Let's move on to the next headline.
FIFA has introduced a limited number of more affordable $60 tickets for all 104 matches at the 2026 World Cup, following criticism of the tournament's pricing structure.
2026 북중미 월드컵 입장권 가격이 너무 비싸다는 비판에 국제축구연맹 FIFA가 월드컵 104경기 전체를 대상으로 보다 저렴한 $60짜리 입장권을 한정 수량으로 신규 발매한다고 발표했습니다. Alright, so the cheaper or more affordable version is $60. That's about 8만 원. I wonder how expensive the more, the other tickets
Some
are.
of them are like $5,000-$10,000 for the expensive. It was absolutely ridiculous. And those
$5,000 would be about 700만 원.
Yeah, it's getting really and I'm talking for the final games, right?
Okay,
Like for the finals and
My
for like the best
goodness.
seats of those. So,
Okay.
But the thing that people were balking at even more than that was the fact that the cheapest tickets were over $100. I think it was like 120, 140, something like that.
Wow.
Where those for the cheapest possible tickets that you could buy at all. So, I remember in 2002 going to games in Korea for the World Cup for like $20, $25, like something like that, where it was very affordable.
Sure.
So the fact that, I understand that typically things like that are more expensive in the US, but that's an outrageous amount.
It is. 가장 저렴한 티켓도 뭐 120불, 150불 그러면은 뭐 우리 돈으로 한 20-30만 원 정도는 되는 거잖아요. 좋기. 가장 저렴한 그런 표부터 해서 뭐 그냥 천정부지로 올라가는 이 표 가격 때문에 많은 그런 원성의 소리가 있었던 모양입니다. 그러다 보니까 이제 FIFA에서 몇 개 정도를 내놓은 건가요? $60짜리 표를 발매하겠다라고 했는데 do we know how many there's going to be or do we not know yet?
I believe they said like 10% of the allocation for that will go to like each of the countries that are participating. So they kind of divvy them up in different ways. But I think it's different per stadium as to how many of those tickets will be available. But I know that they'll be distributed to the countries rather than for Americans to purchase for each stadium.
그러니까 아마 이번에 북중미 월드컵이 캐나다, 멕시코, 미국에서 이렇게 개최가 되잖아요. 각 개국의 좌석표의 한 10% 정도가 요 비교적 저렴한 표로 발매가 될 것 같네요. 자, 그 표현을 좀 보도록 하겠습니다. It's not cheap, but it's affordable.
Yeah, if something is affordable, it's a cost that you can deal with. It's something that it's not going to break the bank, or it's something that you can afford,
Yeah.
meaning that you can lose this much money and you're going to survive. You're not going to be in financial trouble because of this.
Yeah. To be able to afford something money-wise means you can pay for it. It's not dirt cheap. But, it's not, as you said, going to break the bank. 너무 비싸지는 않아요. 그렇다고 뭐 저렴한 것도 아니지만 그래도 이 정도는 감당이 돼. 그럴 때 it's affordable 이라고 합니다.
And it doesn't have to necessarily only be money because you might ask, can you afford a little bit of time for me?
Right.
So, time can be a currency as well that you can afford to give someone or not.
Exactly. And if you don't have that time, you might say, sorry, I don't think I can afford this time, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Meaning I don't have that time. I can't spend it.
Yes.
돈만이 아니라 시간에 대해서도 쓸 수 있습니다. 지금 이렇게 내가 할 정도의 여력이 안 돼, 시간이 안 돼. 자, 다음으로 tournament.
A tournament is a competition typically to pare down a champion of some sort. So if you have a large number of athletes or participants or teams and you want to pare it down to like a best, a winner, a champion of some sort, then you'll have a tournament, which is a competition where you play head-to-head typically,
Yeah.
although it can be a group. But typically it's like you're going to play other competitors head-to-head until you have one person left who is your champion.
So in this case, we're actually just talking about the World Cup.
Yes, exactly.
But instead of saying the World Cup, because it was already mentioned a couple of words beforehand, they changed it up and they added the word tournament.
Yeah, they don't want to be redundant. So, yeah.
그렇죠. 바로 앞에 월드컵이라는 단어가 나왔기 때문에 그걸 지칭하는 거지만 이 선수권 쟁탈전, 토너먼트라는 단어로 대체해서 다시 표현하고 있습니다. 다시 읽어볼게요. FIFA has introduced a limited number of more affordable $60 tickets for all 104 matches at the 2026 World Cup, following criticism of the tournament's pricing structure.
Pennies from the last U.S. 1-cent minting have sold for over $16.7 million at auction, with the final set, number 232, selling for $800,000.
생산이 중단된 미국 1센트 동전의 최종 주조분이 경매에서 총 1,676만 달러에 판매된 가운데 이 중 가장 마지막으로 찍어낸 232번 세트는 80만 달러, 우리 돈으로 약 11억 8천만 원에 거래됐습니다. Wow, the last pennies. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so in the U.S., pennies are 1 cent, which would be about the equivalent of a shibon coin, a little bit more, I
Right.
guess.
Okay.
But they're discontinuing making these coins. So they've been making them for 232 years, which is why it says number 232 sold for $800,000 because it's been that many years and that's how many sets they decided to sell. So there's only 232 sets and they're each numbered and it is set number 232, the final set. So essentially the final penny in the history of American money that went for $800,000.
I also understand that these final pennies, they have a special omega mark on them because alpha and omega,
yeah.
omega symbolizes the last alphabet. So yeah, these are really special coins. And boy, did they sell for a lot of money. Wow. 그 1센트, 마지막 1센트짜리 동전, 그 한 세트가요. 11억 원 이상의 거래가 됐다고 하는데, so how many in one set?
There's only 3 coins.
3 in one set. Okay.
But I believe they're 24 karat gold as well. So, they'll actually have just melted value as well, like the metal value. It's not like it's just like a copper penny like the old days. They actually are different, but that's the size of a penny and it's acknowledged as a penny.
Wow. Okay, well, let's have a look at the word minting. This always comes up when we're talking about making coins.
Yeah, and minting is literally just the creation of coins for various countries or states.
화폐를 만드는 거, 화폐의 주조를요, minting이라고 합니다. So
It has nothing to do with the candy that makes your breath taste fresher.
그렇죠. 그래서 화폐국을 그냥 뭐 mint라고 부르는 경우도 많이 있어요. In England, I think it's called the Royal Mint. So that's where they make the money. What about final?
Final meaning like a last or towards the end. So this is the final set, meaning the last set. There's not going to be any more made after this. It's the last one available.
Yeah, we're so accustomed to seeing this word in sports and otherwise in Korea as well. We also say final. So I think a lot of people will be used to it. But there's final and then finale, and words that have the same roots and they might mean slightly different things, but they all mean the end.
Yeah, of some sort.
그렇죠. 최종, 마지막 그런 것들을 다 우리가 final이라고 하고 스포츠에서는 당연히 결승전이 되겠죠. 자, 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Pennies from the last US 1-cent minting have sold for over $16.7 million at auction, with the final set, number 232, selling for $800,000. Here's our next headline.
Oscar-winning director James Cameron has joined the very short list of filmmakers to reach billionaire status, with the release of the third Avatar installment expected to further boost his net worth.
오스카상 수상 영화 감독인 제임스 캐머런이 소수의 억만장자 감독 대열에 합류한 가운데 그가 만든 최신 영화 아바타 불과체가 본격 상영되면 그의 순자산은 앞으로 더 늘어날 것으로 보입니다. Alright, so how much is he worth now?
Well, they're saying right now his net worth is $1.1 billion.
Ooh, okay.
But, you know, with Avatar 3 continuing to make profits right now, that's only going to go up.
Yeah, I think the screening's only just started here in Korea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's maybe going to go up to 2 billion, who knows? But it's going to go up. And it's funny because yesterday we had a story about Elon Musk and his net worth being around $600 billion. So after that story, this seems meager, but this is still a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely a lot of money.
Yeah.
I remember seeing interviews from Matt Damon, and he was asked to be the star of Avatar.
Oh yes,
but he turned it down because he was still doing the Bourne series, and but to do the film, he was offered 10% of the gross sales.
Oh my
so
goodness.
if you factor in Avatar 1, 2, and 3, I mean, just one alone earned $2.9 billion. So that's $300 million.
How does he feel about
Yeah,
turning that down
he,
now?
He could almost be a billionaire. I mean, it'd be certainly over like $500 million on saying no to that.
와,
And
이거 너무
he always talks
재밌는
about that.
에피소드네요. 본 아이덴티티 시리즈를 촬영을 한창 하고 있던 중에 맷 데이먼한테 제임스 캐머런 감독이 연락을 한 겁니다. 나의 아바타라는 영화를 만들려고 하는데 네가 주연 배우를 좀 맡을래? 그랬더니 좀 고민을 하다가 나 지금 본 아이덴티티 영화 촬영 중인데 해서 내가 전체 수익금의 10%를 너한테 줄게. 제발 우리 팀으로 와라. 그러니까 맷 데이먼이 안 돼. 나 지금 본 아이덴티티에 나는 좀 더 충성심을 가지고 촬영에 임하겠어. 해서 이거 turn down, 거절한 거죠. 그리고 나서 이제 대성공을 거둔 아바타를 보면서 이제 인터뷰를 맷 데이먼이 하고 이렇게 한숨만 좀 쉬었을 것 같아요.
One last thing I'll quickly mention is now James Cameron becomes the 5th billionaire. So the other 4 billionaires before him, George Lucas, of course, of Star Wars fame, Steven Spielberg, we all know him, Peter Jackson, who did
Lord of the
Rings and The Hobbit, and Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry?
Yeah.
What movie is he known for?
So he was the lawyer in Gone Girl, the big tall black guy.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so he's also a director and writer and stuff. And he's always the one that I wonder, like, they talk about how much power and influence he has in Hollywood. And he's always the guy that I was like, wow, like, really? Like, I get it with everyone else, but he always seems to sneak in there as one of the most influential people in Hollywood.
Interesting. I remember Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle, I think they stayed in Tyler Perry's home briefly before they actually decided to relocate to LA. So that's when his name also came up as well. And I thought he must be very influential to host a prince.
Absolutely.
You know. All right, let's have a look at reaching billionaire status.
Yeah, so a billionaire is someone that has at least $1 billion worth of assets. So that's how much they're worth. Doesn't mean that they necessarily have that much cash on them. But yeah, we call it like a millionaire. There's a billionaire. Now, when you reach billionaire status or status, then it's a level. So, you know, people talk about, oh, he's so concerned about his status, you know, the level that people see them as, or kind of, you know, it's like your view when people view you as something. So billionaire status is the level that you're at, but it can also be like an image that you portray.
Sure. 어떤 뭐 계층이 될 수도 있겠고요. 명성이 될 수도 있겠고. 여기서 말하는 거는 반열인데 reaching billionaire status. 그러면 억만장자 반열에 오르게 됐다라는 뜻이 되겠습니다. Of course, Cameron is known for the Titanic as well as the Avatar series and other great movies as well. The Avatar movie that's just been released is the third installment.
Yeah, the installment meaning the third version of it or the one that has been created. An installment of any sort. So it means that there have been others before it. So that's why we're calling it the third installment.
그래요. 세 번째 편이라고 볼 수 있겠죠?
We also talk about when you're paying for something, you might pay for it in installments. I think in Korean, like they'll say like, oh, do you want hal부 when you're paying for by credit card?
Yep.
So in the same sort of way, like, you know, do you want to just pay this one lump sum or would you like to pay this in installments? Would you like 3 months installments, 6 month installments? How many installments would you like?
Exactly. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어보겠습니다. Oscar-winning director James Cameron has joined the very short list of filmmakers to reach billionaire status, with the release of the third Avatar installment expected to further boost his net worth. Now here's our final headline.
Thousands of dinosaur footprints measuring up to 40 centimeters wide have been discovered in the Italian Alps, with archaeologists estimating they date back approximately 210 million years.
이탈리아 알프스 지역에서 폭이 최대 40cm에 달하는 공룡 발자국 화석이 무더기로 발견됐습니다. 고고학자들은 이 발자국들이 약 2억 1천만 년 전에 남겨진 것으로 추정하고 있습니다. Wow. It just, you know, I'm kind of, you know, baffled. I can't even speak now. But when I hear stories about new discoveries of millions of years old, you know, dinosaur remains or footprints or whatever. And this is 200 million years old. 200
million years old, 210. And it's not just one or two footprints.
Yeah, is it quite a lot?
There are 20,000.
What?
Up to 20,000 footprints. So, you know, there's actually a dinosaur site in the southern point of Korea as well. And I've been there where you can see, you know, a bunch of footprints as well. And I mean, there's maybe like 100 or so. You know, that you can clearly see, maybe like 5 or 10. But to have 20,000 up to, I mean, that is a large number of footprints.
와, 한 2만 개 정도의 이런 공룡 발자국이 발견이 됐습니다. 우리는 이제 만이라는 단위가 있기 때문에 우리말로 이제 굳이 한다면은 수만 개라고 하겠지만 영어에서는 thousands라고 했어요. 근데 이거를 우리가 수천 개라고 번역을 하지 않은 이유는 만도 영어에서는 천 단위에 해당이 되거든요. 만이라는 숫자가 없으니까 10,000 만이잖아요. 그래서 20,000 have been discovered. 영어로는 이것도 thousands에 해당이 된다는 거 참고로 알아두시면 되겠습니다. Alright, let's have a look at the word footprint.
A footprint is what is left behind by you, a person, or an animal of some sort that leaves their foot imprinted in the ground. And so this is like probably in the mud or something. And then it hardened over a large number of years and then was discovered. But we also talk about footprints often at crime scenes. If there's a crime and you're looking for someone, then your shoe might have left a footprint. So then they know what kind of shoe the owner of the person that they're looking for has.
발자국, 족적이라는 뜻인데 이게 또 요즘에는 우리가 online footprints, carbon footprints 해가지고 우리가 환경 오염에 미치는 영향, 뭐 인터넷에 남긴 흔적이라는 뜻으로도 footprint를 많이 쓰죠.
Yeah, we use it basically to show that you were there.
Yes.
It's evidence that you were at this place or this site. So if you leave a footprint, as you mentioned, a carbon footprint, it shows that, look, I mean, we did something to show that we were here.
Now what about approximately?
Approximately is when you don't want to say an exact number or thing. It could be like a distance as well or a weight. But when you're saying approximately, you're saying it's around this. You're giving yourself a little bit of leeway to show that you're not exact. You don't want to give an exact number. You want to give a number that's kind of around this amount.
대략, approximately. 자, 다시 읽어보겠습니다. Thousands of dinosaur footprints measuring up to 40 centimeters wide have been discovered in the Italian Alps, with archaeologists estimating they date back approximately 210 million years. Well, that's it for the 5 headlines this morning with our newscaster Jason Lee.